Let me show you how I went from this to this and this to this in just 14 days and how you can apply it to yourself to increase your flexibility. Let's go. You gotta turn it into a workout. Stretching should be done for sets and reps with warm-ups, working sets, and 1 rep maxes periodically. Now that might sound strange because stretching is often looked at as a relaxing and soothing, a good way to loosen things up. But look here, stretching is just isometrics in an extended range of motion. You know how the tuck planche is an isometric and the L sit is an isometric? Stretching it's exactly the same thing. You gotta stop looking at stretching like it's stretching and you gotta start viewing it as a workout. When you lift weights, you'll feel a burning sensation, often known as the burn. It's great. It makes you want to stop lifting, but if you fight through it, eventually you'll get stronger. When you stretch, you'll feel pain, often known as pain. People might describe it as their tendons snapping, muscles tearing, something's about to break, etc. And if you run away from that sensation, you will never be as flexible as you can be. In order to tackle such horrendous, horrible pain, we need to shift our mindset. Stretching isn't painful. It's very uncomfortable instead because pain is sharp, quick, and immediate. Think about touching a hot stove, whereas discomfort is enduring, building, and the discomfort is alleviated once you leave the position. Think about being in a very hot room. Once you leave it, things get better instantly. Or think about stretching really hard. Once you get out of the stretch, things get better more or less immediately. Now, this isn't to say that you can't hurt yourself while stretching because you could hurt yourself doing damn near anything. It's to say that you're not very good at being uncomfortable when it comes to the sensations that come with stretching. I didn't realize this for a long time, even during the 2 weeks where I made the tremendous progress in my flexibility. What I did do though was take stretching rather super seriously. At that time, I was really into working out, like how I am now, woohoo. And once I finished my 1 to 2 hour workout, I would then stack on an additional 60 to 90 minutes of stretching. You might be thinking that that's a bit excessive, and you are correct. However, 99.9% of people who want to improve their stretching are always under stretching. And thus, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my story. And I hope that you too can start to take your stretching more seriously. At the beginning of those 14 days, and I didn't know it was gonna be 14 days, it just so happened to be 14 days. At the beginning, I told myself of 2 goals I wanted to achieve. The first one was I wanted my chest to touch the ground when I did the pancake. And the second was I wanted my balls to rest on the ground when I did the front splits. I would warm up through a simple routine that covered the entire body. Once my body was ready, I would then go into my warm-up sets for the pancake and the splits. You might be wondering, what does a warm-up set look like for stretching? It looks like barely even trying, just trying to warm up the muscles and stretch them out, maneuvering around the joint shenanigans. Just like how if you're getting ready to bench 225 pounds, you might start with just the bar, some variations to it, and the sorts. And I would do that for both the pancake and the front splits. Once the first warm-up set was done, I would rest exactly how you would take a short breather before slapping on some weight on the barbell. Now, I'm sure you already know this, but I kind of have to say this a bit plainly. Your flexibility increases when you are warmed up, and it decreases when you're not warmed up. The difference between a chain who is warmed up versus one that's not is approximately 6 to 10 inches, give or take. For you, that number might be less, but it doesn't change the fact that we all have levels of flexibility. And if you stop right when you begin to access that flexibility and go do something else, you're essentially just warming up and never doing any working sets, which is awful. And people do that all the time when it comes to stretching. That's why a lot of people undervalue their flexibility potential, even though they stretch pretty often. As I become more warmed up, I turn up the effort and increase the distance. This might take me anywhere from 3 to 4 sets. Between each set, I might be doing other stretches or just lounging around for the 2 to 3 minutes that I am resting. And then when I'm ready and my body's fully warm, I prepare myself mentally to suffer. Except instead of viewing it like weathering the storm, which is an awful way of doing it, I actively try to go to the point where it feels the worst. I have found that suffering is several times easier when you actively put yourself in that position versus when you're just taking it. It sucks. You know how before you lift a heavy ass weight, you hype yourself up? I would do the exact same thing for my stretches. And just like how it comes to lifting heavy weights, you can't be passive and just hope that it happens. The important thing here is that when you're stretching, especially for those harder sets, you have to do it in an active manner, aka active stretching. It is when you actively contract the muscles while you're holding the stretch. This helps build strength in whatever range of motion you're currently holding the stretch in. Because, as I stated way earlier, stretching is just an isometric in extended ranges of motion. Isometrics is squeezing the muscles. For the pancake, I like pulling the toes back, but you can do them plantar flex if you like. The only thing that matters is you actively contract the calf muscles. Not only the calf muscles, but the quadriceps and the bootylicious. And when you reach down, you want to contract the abs as well. Don't let gravity pull you down. You want to actively insert yourself into the position using your muscles. And therefore the thinking isn't necessarily, hey, am I flexible enough? It's more like, hey, am I strong enough? And I will hold these positions for as long as I could. Usually, as long as I could meant anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds. Now, if I went over 10 seconds, I knew that I wasn't trying hard enough. And if I wasn't able to hold it for more than 5 seconds, I knew that I wasn't trying hard enough. So I would pancake, do my splits on both sides, then I would take a long break of 5 to 7 minutes. And just like how you can't work out with your peak weight for an endless number of reps and sets, when you stretch hard, there will be sets where you feel more flexible than others. And the more sets you do, that flexibility starts to decline. It's the exact same thing as strength training. If you do the working weight over and over again, the second or third set might be your best, and then it'll get worse as you continue on. For me, when it came to stretching, I think it's around my second or third set where my flexibility is at its peak, and then it starts to get a little bit fatigued and it starts to decline. When you're done with your working sets, it's time to do some back off sets, which was exactly what I did for my stretching way back then. When my muscles and tendons in my cranium couldn't handle it anymore, I reduced the range of motion, I put forth less effort, and increased the time upon which I held each stretch. And so every day I busted my shit doing this. Some days I feel pretty good, others garbage. Obviously, I was sore some days because stretching is just an isometric squeezing of the muscles. And then when you use your muscles really hard, regardless of the range of motion or thereof lack of, soreness will occur. And I think it was like after 7 days or not, give or take, I was finally able to do my goal of chest to ground and balls to floor. But I wanted to be known that just because I did it once, it did not mean that I could do it twice, right? For example, like when you bench press your max, you can't just come back the next day and repeat it and do that forever. No, you're gonna be tired, fatigued. So even though I did manage to hit my 2 stretching goals, I immediately knew then that, hey, it's really hard to hit this and I need to increase my flexibility to the point where I could do this at a drop of a hat. So I spent the remaining 7 days trying to hit my goal over and over and over again until it became solid. Now, obviously, fast forward 10,000 years, I'm way more flexible than I was back then, and I am able to hit those metrics at the drop of a hat. That doesn't mean they're easy. It just means I've improved my flexibility enough to the point where, hey, this weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, that used to be really heavy for me, is something that I can more or less do with very minimum to no warm-up. I want to go ahead and just toss out the program for you that you can use to help improve yourself in a way that wasn't as extreme as me, but the benefits should be clear as day. I'm gonna suggest you select 1 to 2 stretches to focus on. I want you to think of these stretches as exercises. In this case, select 1 to 2 exercises to focus on. For me, the thing I wanted to prove is the pancake, the front splits. For you, it could be 2 totally different ones. You're gonna have 1 to 2 warm-up sets where it's easy and you hold it or play around with it for anywhere between 10 to 20 seconds. Now remember, you don't actually need to hold the stretch. You just want to move in and out of the stretch to get loose. After that, you're going to go ahead and do 2 to 3 building sets where you gradually increase your effort. For these sets, feel free to still move around in and out. And we're doing it anywhere between 10 to 15 seconds. Again, still just trying to build it up, get loose. Nothing too serious yet. Finally, we enter the meat and potatoes of the stretching where all the money is made, one would say. And this will be the 3 to 5 working sets, which are the most important ones. They're going to be very hard. And you're going to hold it anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds. Remember, if you go over 10 seconds, it was too easy. Try harder. And if you're not able to hold it for 5 seconds, try harder. Between these sets, you're going to rest anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes to give your body and mind enough time to recover so that you can hit it just as hard. When all is said is done, you're going to go ahead and finish it off with 2 to 3 back off sets. I recommend more 2 than 3. And these are still going to be hard, but doable. Holding them for anywhere between 10 to 15 seconds, and then you're whoppity done. When you first begin this, you're going to do it twice a week with at least 3 days in between each session. But if you really want it, I would do it 3 times a week. And when you're stretching, the workout should last anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. It could even go upwards to an hour, but just depending on how many sets you do. I'm gonna finish this off with saying that it's more of a high effort thing than it is a physical limitation, because you have to actively put yourself in a position of great, horrible discomfort time after time after time in order to make it easier to get into that same position of discomfort, which does kind of just doesn't make sense in the brain thinking if you put it that way. But of course, you get flexibility at the end of the day, which is a nice thing to do. So go ahead, give it a try, and improve yourself that way. Now you know.